There's a particular kind of modern loneliness. Not the isolation of an empty desert, but the solitude of the crowd. The feeling of being surrounded by millions of lives, vibrant, full, unfolding just outside your window, while you remain fundamentally separate. Director Hikari calls Rental Family a love letter to Tokyo, but she notes the address is simply loneliness anywhere. This is where we find Phillip, a washed-up actor in a city that feels like home but won't claim him. He enters a world where you can hire a father, a friend, a mourner, a premise that forces us to confront an unsettling question. In a world consumed by isolation, can a purchased emotion ever be real? Today, on Filmvérité, we're decoding how this film transforms a cynical industry into a meditation on what family actually means. Building its foundation on Japanese cultural tension, its architecture from Ozu to Herzog, and its pulse from a theory that argues emotions aren't felt, they're performed. The remainder of this analysis contains spoilers. Most assume the rent-a-relative business is a modern invention, born from internet isolation or social media. But the genetic ancestor of Rental Family isn't the smartphone. The industry began in 1991 when the Japan Efficiency Corporation, originally a corporate training firm, pivoted when the CEO realized employees needed emotional training for their personal lives, not just their jobs. This emerged from the tension between two cultural concepts: Tatemae, the public facade we maintain for social harmony; Honne, our private, hidden truth. In a society where saving face is paramount, the rental service became a discreet commercial solution, a way to prevent the shame of revealing a painful, private reality. But the film's cinematic foundation goes back even further, to Yasujirō Ozu, specifically Tokyo Story, 1953. Ozu chronicled the crumbling nuclear family, the inevitable drift between generations. Rental Family explores the modern void left behind. The evolution is stark. Where Ozu's characters mourned the inevitable loss of family, Hikari's characters engage in the intentional fabrication of it. Ozu identified the wound, the death of the Japanese family. But how do modern filmmakers bandage it? To understand how Rental Family builds a cure, we look to the blueprint. 5 modern films that tried to solve Ozu's problem, but stopped short of the answer. Film 1, Family Romance, LLC, The Cynical Diagnosis. Werner Herzog's film starred the real-life founder of a rental agency.
Making romance is a business, and that's why I added LLC in my title.
Herzog presented the industry as a ghastly dome where we are not allowed to love or be loved. He himself says,
I think that this film is one of my essential films, like The Wrath of God.
Rental Family borrows this episodic structure, but rejects its cold detachment. It opts instead for redemption. Herzog's raw approach raises questions with anxiety, where Hikari avoids deep waters and leaves a warmth at the end of the film. Film 2, Johatsu, Into Thin Air, The Escape. A documentary exploring the phenomenon of people who evaporate, severing all ties to escape their lives. Where Rental Family shows people renting connection to fill a void, Johatsu shows people severing connection to survive. Two sides of the same coin. One seeks connection through commerce. The other seeks freedom through disappearance. Offering 2 escape routes for your routes: construction or dissolution. Film 3, Lost in Translation. The Outsider's Gaze, Inverted. While Johatsu explores those who vanish from Japan, Sofia Coppola's film explores Westerners simply lost within it. It is an American perspective on Tokyo loneliness. Rental Family actively upends this tourist gaze. Phillip isn't lost in the exoticism. He's a 7-year resident desperate to be found in the community. In Hikari's world, Tokyo isn't a backdrop. It's home. But the story is Americanized, injecting a Western light to an Eastern setting. Film 4. Perfect Days. The symmetrical counterpoint. Wim Wenders' meditation on Tokyo's loneliness 20 years after Lost in Translation, not as emptiness, but as an absence of recognition. Perfect Days finds authenticity in the quiet, solitary routine of a toilet cleaner. Meaning exists in the simplest moments. Rental Family argues the counterpoint. For those who cannot bear the solitude, meaning can be found in the messy, constructed intimacy of a paid encounter. The fact that Wenders, a non-Japanese director, is drawing on Japanese minimalism and silence underlines generational and cultural distance. Like Coppola, a European gaze on Japanese urban solitude. Film 5. Rent a Family, Inc. The Cost of the Cure. Caspar Astrup Schroeder's documentary provides the final, essential architectural pillar: the sacrifice. While the other films in this blueprint are fiction, this is the documentary reality that proves the stakes. It follows Ryuichi Ichinokawa, the real-life founder of the agency Hagamashi Tai, I Want to Cheer You Up. Schroeder's camera reveals a devastating irony. Ryuichi is the perfect father for his clients, yet in his own home, he is a ghost. He sleeps on the floor of his son's room. His wife and children treat him with indifference. Crucially, they do not know what he does for a living. He hides the business to protect them from the shame, maintaining his own tatemae, his facade, while selling tatemae to others. Rental Family absorbs this tragic double bind. It understands that the person selling the cure is often the one most infected by the disease. Ryuichi's only genuine connection is with his dog, Choppy, a detail that Hikari dramatizes by isolating her protagonist, Phillip, making his rental connections the only color in a gray life. The synthesis. So, how do these 5 films fuse together? It begins with Ozu's tragedy, the realization that the traditional family is destined to crumble. To fix this, Hikari borrows Herzog's machinery, the rental agency. But she rejects the cynicism. She refuses to evaporate like the subjects of Johatsu. And she refuses to gaze from the outside like the tourists of Lost in Translation. Instead, she steps inside the illusion. And finally, she challenges Wenders, arguing that while solitary peace may be perfect, human connection is essential, even if you have to pay for it. The result? A film raising more than one question. What if connection, constructed or purchased, could still be helpful in a way? Can performed intimacy be meaningful? What defines a true family? But how does this transaction actually work? Not on screen, in the blood. This is the pulse of the film. It's driven by sociologist Arlie Hochschild's concept of deep acting, from her book, The Managed Heart. Deep acting is the labor of self-inducing a real emotion to satisfy a customer. Just as a flight attendant forces herself to feel actual joy to comfort a passenger, Phillip must manufacture love to comfort his clients. We see this labor clearly in the archives of Rent a Family, Inc., mentioned as Film 5. Ryuichi Ichinokawa speaks of playing an uncle at a school sports day for a bullied kid. The kid just needed someone to cheer for him from the sidelines. And when Ryuichi shouted his name, the kid actually ran faster. This isn't simulation, it's work. Emotional labor where the feeling becomes genuine through the act of performing it. Hikari captures this through what I call the Tatemae dissolve. Long takes where we watch Brendan Fraser's face drop the mask of the character and react with genuine empathy. The exact moment the transaction ends and the connection begins. To carry this thesis, the film needed a specific vessel. It needed Brendan Fraser. Fraser plays Phillip, a washed-up actor whose backstory includes being a toothpaste superhero in a viral Japanese commercial. This serves as a brilliant metaphor. His public identity was a plastic caricature of protection. His new role requires the quiet, invisible protection of a stranger's heart. The casting is deeply metatextual. We know Fraser's history, his exile from Hollywood, his Renaissance. This creates a spiritual sequel to The Whale. In that film, he portrayed the internal collapse of the self. Here, he portrays the external reconstruction of the self through service to others.
I need to know that I have done one thing right with my life.
Fraser embodies the outsider who cares more than the biological parent, validating the idea that we can buy the action of family when the noun of family has failed us.
She hates me.
It's what being a parent is.
He moves from seeking validation through fame to seeking utility by being needed. So, what is the cinematic DNA of Rental Family? Foundation: Japanese cultural tension, Tatemae versus Honne, plus Ozu's inevitable loss, transformed into intentional fabrication. Architecture: Herzog's cynicism, Johatsu's opposite escape, Coppola's outsider gaze, inverted, and Vender's counterpoint on constructed versus solitary meaning. Pulse: Hawkshield's deep acting, the labor of self-inducing real emotion made visible through the Tatemae dissolve. Vessel: Brendan Fraser's deeply personal journey from collapse to reconstruction. But here's the legacy. Director Hikari's previous film, 37 Seconds, told the story of a woman with cerebral palsy fighting for self-discovery. Hikari refused to let the audience pity the outsider. She demanded we root for her. In Rental Family, she applies that same radical empathy to the liar. The film's final image, Phillip returning to a Shinto shrine, gazing into the sacred mirror, the Kagami. In Shinto, the mirror reflects not just the face, but the soul's truth. He isn't performing anymore. He's witnessing himself. The argument: family isn't a noun. It's a verb. It's something you do. So the next time you see a touching moment, a perfect speech, you might wonder if it's paid for. But if it heals you, does it matter? Next time on Cinematic DNA, another code cracked, another lineage decoded. Keep watching.